Hello and welcome to this introduction to the foundations of Reapit PM. I'm really pleased to have you here, and although this is a pre-recorded session, my goal is to make it feel clear, engaging, and genuinely helpful as possible as we explore the platform together. Before we get started, a quick but important note. Everything you'll see in this session is for training and demonstration purposes only. Any examples, scenarios, data shown are entirely fictional and do not represent real individuals, organizations, or events. They're simply here to help illustrate concepts in a clear and practical way. With that out of the way, let's jump in and get started. Now, to set the tone for this webinar, we are addressing this to new property managers. Now, that could be new property managers to the industry, they're new to Reapit PM, or maybe they're joining an existing office that has Reapit PM already established. We're hoping this will be a helpful guide as to how to navigate the menus, find your properties, owners, tenants, and more within the system. With that said, and when first logging into the system, we encourage you to set up your profile. And to do that, we want you to come to the top right corner where you'll find your initials. From your initials, click Profile. Your profile is where you're going to find your personal information. And it's through here that you're able to set up your email signature and put in your reply to details. One tip, if you are putting your email and mobile phone number into the signature, do not put them in above. Otherwise, your emails will have a duplicate in there. You can also set up your email accounts through here. This is where you're able to connect to your Gmail or Outlook accounts. And this will allow us to capture emails that are sent to you from any one of your contacts and bring them into Reapit PM. Some integrations can be found through here as well, such as personal REI forms. Across the top, you'll also find your notifications, where you'll see quick notifications with regards to certain key events, such as entry and condition reports being completed, maintenance requests submitted by tenants, and lease renewal feedback from tenants and owners. We've also got conversations through here. From the email icon, this is where you will find your inbox. So if you have connected your email, you'll see inbound emails from contacts that are in your Reapit PM system. It's from here that you can come through and action these emails by clicking in and responding to the emails that have been sent through to you. You can assign them to other team members. You can see who that relates to, in this case, a tenant who is currently renting this property here. And we're able to click through to these hyperlinks to update those as we see fit. If you would like more information about conversations, please check out our other webinars on the topic, where we deep dive into how to set this up and how to use it. Keeping things light though, for simple navigation, let's keep moving across the top. Documents come next, and it's through here that you will see internal office documents, such as maintenance procedures, arrears processes, maybe some handbooks or office processes. And this is where we would expect to see these stored within Reapit PM. You can add new ones through here, and you'll be able to access these or download, rename, and delete these from here if need be. Your task icon sits next to that, and the tasks that you're expecting to find through here will be ad hoc tasks relate to a follow-up for a property or a contact that is not handled by one of our workflows. If you're coming over from some of our competitors where they're task-based systems, what you'll find in our system is that our workflows will handle many of those tasks that the other software handled. And we'll explore that a little bit more later. For now, a task in Reapit PM is usually something quite simple, and it is assigned to a single user, and it linked to a property or a contact. Finally, we have our well, as we continue to move across, we have our help button. And from here, you'll be able to find online courses. So these are self-paced learn as you go courses. You can click through to there and log in using your Reapit PM single sign-on. You can see what other webinars we've got upcoming. We have our knowledge base where you can see all of our guides on the system and a support chat. The fastest and quickest way to get help if you have any questions or have anything that you are stuck on with Reapit PM. We strongly encourage you to use this. And the last item as we go across the top here is our universal search bar. Universal search bar is where you will be able to get to a specific item in the system as quickly as possible. You can search via property address, and when you search via that property address, you can click through to the property address itself. You could also click on the owner's details to jump into the owner card, tenant details to jump into the tenancy card, the routine inspection if you wanted to, and you can see details such as the payment reference and key number through here too. That said, it wouldn't be a universal search if you couldn't search by other things either. You can, of course, search by someone's name and jump through to their contact. You could search via someone's mobile phone number and email addresses and more, as you can see across the top. Below this, you can see our dashboard. Now, your dashboard is the screen that you will see when you first log into the system. It's worthwhile noting that your dashboard should be filtered down on your name. If it's not, and you're the first time you've logged in, just select yourself from the drop-down, and that will save so that next time you log in, that's what you're seeing. You can also change the order of the widgets in here. Using the Change Order button over here, we're able to select what order we would like these to appear in, potentially moving more important workflows for us or more important tasks for us to the top. Additionally, each one of these can be clicked on, and that'll click through to the relevant workflow, where we will then be able to perform the actions we need to do with regards to that workflow. Okay, now in terms of navigation, if we want to drill down onto our portfolio or other lists within the system, that's where this left-hand menu comes in. Properties is where you're going to find your portfolio. Properties in residential or commercial, depending on what you work with, will need to be selected, and then you'll be able to see your portfolio on screen. We'll come back to this just in a second. People is where you're going to find your contacts as well as owner and tenant lists. Where what we're seeing through here will be the individual owner agreements which relate to certain properties, or when we look at tenants, the individual tenancy agreements that relate to properties as well. Creditors can also be found through here, where you'll be able to see all of the creditors that exist within this database. Below that, you'll find your workflows, and here is a list of, this is the list of workflows that we have within our system. As I mentioned earlier, this is where you'll be able to perform your key tasks that relate to property management. We'll touch on those a little bit more later. For now, I want to come back through to our residential property list, where we're going to have a bit of a look at your portfolio and then drill down upon a specific property. All right, starting with your portfolio. Up the top, of course, you can see that that has been selected, and that'll carry through as you go through different screens within the system. You can also see through here that there are other portfolios I can select from, so you could jump into others if you needed to help out. You can add new properties from the top right-hand corner, and that'll walk you through the process of putting in the property, owner, and tenant. You have your workflows across the top, so these allow you to quickly navigate through to key workflows, and you can change the order of these depending on what's most important to you, simply by dragging and dropping a workflow to the front or to the back and hitting apply. You have a filter through here, which course, we can use to filter down on specific property addresses. Or we can filter by other key indicators for properties and tenancies. You can filter by properties with an expiry date, which means that their lease has expired or potentially doesn't have an expiry date at all. You can filter by vacate dates if you want to see who's vacating, rent, keys, compliance, and categories. Categories are customized per office and can be quite expansive depending on what you need. Then, of course, we have properties down below. Using the bulk selector will allow us to select all of these properties in a group, whereby we can export them if we need to, and we can send out bulk messages through here too. Or we can click into an individual property to get more information about that property. Which, let's do that now. So we're going to be using 12 Garden Street as our example today. Clicking into the property is going to bring that up on screen. Now I want to walk you through what you need to know about navigating your properties, owners, and tenants for the first time, and where to find key and crucial information. Before we do that though, just a quick call out. If you have any questions about what we're going through, remember you can replay this video. And if you want to reach out to us for help, question mark at the top right-hand corner here, start a chat, or jump into our knowledge base. That said, let's have a look at our property. The overview page is where you're going to see, well, an overview of the property, of course, but there is a lot of critical information in here which we need to be aware of. The owner is showing us quite a bit of important information through here. We can see where their agreement is up to, how often they're dispersed, and through here we can see what we're holding and potentially any withholds or bill withholds for this property just at a high level. From the 3 dots next ownership, it's from here where we can view all ownerships for this property, and we have the option to change the owner for this property. Down the page, you'll find your tenant, of course. Your tenant is going to show you any overdue invoices, where's the rent paid up to. We're in arrears at this case here. You can see that through there. We can see the bond, and from the 3 dots over here, we'll be able to view all tenancies. We can add new tenancies. We can use the pay anyone function to pay the tenant back their deposit. And we have a tenant calculator through here as well. Below our tenancy, this is where we'll be able to find a heads up with regards to insurance and compliance for this property. You're able to add in new insurance and compliance by clicking on these and following the prompts. On the right-hand side, you'll find an About section for this property. You'll be able to see any photos or floor plans that might be used for advertising or potentially just so they appear on the owner portal. You can see the features of the property, roles, access, and it's from here that we can select unique property categories. Across the top, the property has tabs, and some of these are really important. Your timeline tab is where you're going to find a timeline of activities that link to this property. This could be emails where the property is related, but it could also simply be tasks being completed, entry inspections being set up, as well as keys and compliance related activities through here as well. The inspection tab is where you're going to find all of your upcoming inspections and a record of past inspections. To see those, just clear your filter and you'll see all of the inspections that have been completed at this particular property. The maintenance tab is where you'll find any outstanding maintenance. You'll be able to see where that maintenance is up to at a glance, and you can click through to that from here as well if you needed to. Clicking clear will show you all of the completed maintenance for this particular property as well. Files is, of course, where you're going to find your property files. But this should be your property files only. as these don't directly relate to an owner or a tenant at this stage. We will check those out in a moment. And notes is where we will find our property notes, as well as ownership notes and tenancy notes. But for property notes, there is something unique to know. And that is, when you add a property note, you have the option to add in bill notes, receipt notes, disbursement notes, and maintenance notes. This is a premium feature, but for our premium users, this will allow you to add extra context to the system that will then show up in those related workflows. Finally, you've got your Add New button in the top right-hand corner here, where you'll be able to add new notes, new files, maintenance, compliance, inspections, and insurance to this particular property. All right, now navigating back to our overview, we're now going to check out the owner of this property by clicking on the owner's name from the overview screen. This opens up the ownership card. Now, the ownership card has a similar design to the property, with tabs across the top where we're going to find more information and an overview of the owner on the main page here. Called the owner. Now, as we go down the page, you'll be able to see information about the agreement that has been entered in. We can see through here we have a maintenance spend limit. The owner of this particular property would like to attend routine inspections. We can see a list of commission and fee information for this particular owner, and a couple of fees through here which are charged on demand from this charge fee button. But you'll note most of these other fees are charged automatically through other processes. You can see the ownership insurance through here. We've got some advertising advice, a section for additional information, who the property manager is, disbursement heads up through here, along with the balances down the bottom. It'll let you know the property balance and the ownership balance. As this owner owns multiple properties, there is some money spread across the rest of the portfolio. On the right-hand side, as we go up, you'll find your owner statements. So if you ever need to reprint an owner statement, it is from here that you'll be able to come through and find the owner statement for this particular property. Simply just click on the date and that will download a copy. Above that, you'll be able to see the property, of course, but you can also see the contact cards for the owner and the tenant. From here, you'll see contact information for the owner, and you can edit the owner contact card and also invite them to the owner portal from here. Now, if you need to edit any of the details of the agreement, you can do so by clicking the edit button from here. This will bring up the agreement on screen where you can go through and start to update that agreement depending on what you need to change, including agency fees, maintenance spend limits, whether the owner wants to attend inspections, and disbursements, of course, where you'll be able to change things such as the disbursement frequency and the bank account those funds are going through to. Finally, if you need to change your contacts, so adding additional people to the ownership agreement, and even update the owner contacts from here. Once these changes have been made, click Save and View. Now, across the top, we have further information we can drill down upon for our owners. Communication tab is going to show us all communication that relates to this particular owner. We would be able to go through and pick up, say, emails that we've sent through to them. And by clicking View, we can see a copy of that email that has been sent. Be able to see the statement that's been attached, and we can even see if it has been opened. Clicking on View Conversations will open this email up within Conversations, and you would even be able to forward and resend it from there if you needed to. Moving across the top a bit further, we've got our transactions next. Your transaction list in here is essentially your owner ledger. You are able to export that as a CSV if you needed to. And for any one of the items in here, you do have the option to come through and download a copy of that if it relates to a tenant receipt, and reverse if you need to reverse any of these items. External financials. This is where you can put in expenses or income that the owner wants to declare that have not gone through your trust account, so that they'll show up on the end of financial year statement. Good example of that would be a maintenance expense that the owner has paid for, but was not organized by you. They just need to provide you the details, and you can create an external transaction through here. Documents come next, and it's through here that we'll see the owner documents. And this is where we would want to see things such as insurance information, where it's in this owner's name, the agreement itself, so the management agreement, and potentially other documents that we might want to share with the owner. So if we had a compliance certificate, as an example, that the owner wanted a copy of, we would be able to upload that to the owner document, and we can share it to the owner via the owner portal by using the three dots over here and clicking share. You also have the option to unshare a document should you share something you didn't intend to share. And finally, we have the notes. You'll find that the owner notes will be the same as the property notes, and it'll look the same on the tenancy notes. You can see through here when they relate to an owner or a tenancy or the property. And of course, you can add new ones in through here as well. Finally, add new button, top right corner. For the owner, really simple. It's just add new note and upload file. All right, with that, let's now navigate to the tenant. Going back to the property, and from the overview, I'm going to click the tenant's name under tenancy. This is going to open up our tenant. Tenant screen looks very similar to the owner and has the same similarities to the property. As we go down the page, we will see information about the tenancy agreement. Start dates, end dates, conclusions, as well as rent details through here. This will highlight information such as paid to dates, part payments, arrears, effective paid to dates, as well as a rent history showing us rent increases over time. You can see the tenant's payment reference through here, bond details, along with rent reviews, deductions, and invoices. All of these can be updated through here, so we can add in new rent reviews, deductions, and invoices through here. But you will find over time that a lot of these are also updated through various workflows. Finally, down the bottom, just like with the owner, there's a balances section. This is where you would see any tenant deposits where there might be overpaid rent or compensation related to this tenant. Scrolling back up to the top, on the right-hand side, just like with the owner, you'll see the tenant's contact information and the owner's information. And just like with the owner, from the three dots, you can edit the tenant's contact and you can invite them to the tenant app. Across the top, we also have a timeline. So this is similar to the property timeline, but with more information, as a lot of things, a lot of workflows link back to the tenant. You can navigate through your arrears, general communication, finance, inspections, maintenance, and tenancy timelines. Each one of these can also be exported. So should you have a need, let's say, to extract our arrears timeline, you can export, and then that would extract all communication and actions related to the arrears for this particular property. We also have the tenant's transactions through here. Tenant's transactions is where you'll see a full transaction history for this particular tenant. Albeit, this is not where you would download a tenant ledger, not a PDF version of it anyway. To do that, we're going to jump back to the tenant details quickly. And it's from here, you'll find a payment history button, which will give you a PDF printout of the transactions. But through here, just like with the owner, you can click into individual line items and you would be able to download a copy of that receipt as well as reverse any of these transactions as you need. Albeit the reversing might be restricted depending on your level of access. Tenant documents can also be found through here. This is where you would expect to see a copy of the application as well as the tenancy agreement. However, unlike with the owner, this is entirely internal and it cannot be shared from the screen. If you are integrated with a forms network, whether that's Reapit forms or REI forms, you might find some forms through here if they have been generated through Reapit PM. And finally, notes. Same as with the owner, you'll see the notes for the property, ownership, and tenancy. You can add new notes from here, or you can also add new notes using the Add New button on the top right corner. You can add notes and upload files. Coming back to the tenant details, just want to reiterate that this is where you can come through and find heads up information about that tenant. But this is also where we can come through and we can edit some information about the tenancy agreement. However, unlike the owner agreement, there are certain things which are locked in once you start proceeding, such as the inaugural lease start date and rent details, which will need to be updated through their associated workflows. But you can update a lot of the other information through here, and you can also change your tenants. Just click Save and View once you've completed what you need to update. All right, with all that said though, that is the property owner and tenant. And before we move on and have a look at some of the workflows, I again want to call out help and support. So like I mentioned earlier, feel free to watch this back, go through the recording. But if you want help or you want to jump into our user manual, click on the help button up here, come through to the knowledge base and feel free to start a chat. We are here to help you. All right. With that said, let's get in and have a look at some of our workflows. I'm going to be tackling these 5 here for today, as they are the most used by most of our clients. Starting with arrears. To access any one of your workflows, simply click on the workflow widget from within your portfolio, your property list here, or navigate through to it from the left-hand side or from your dashboard. Once you have your workflows up on screen, this will be applied with the most recent filter that you had in place. If you would like to clear that, simply click Clear over here on the right-hand side, and that'll clear that filter for you. You'll note, though, that your portfolio will remain the same. So if you are looking at your portfolio, that's what you're going to see through here. And you can navigate through to other people's portfolios as well. Now, the arrears workflow comes with arrears automation. And if you're new to the system, it's worthwhile checking this out. This hasn't been set up, it'll be in red. And you have the opportunity to come through here and configure that. Just click Edit Preferences and go through and configure that to suit your needs. If it has been set up, it'll appear in green and you can still come through and check it out. Because it's not a bad idea if you're inheriting a portfolio to understand how the arrears is communicated by this system. We can see through here 2 different methods. Daily SMS, which is just a single SMS that goes out on specific days of the week for a set window of time. Or we have days in arrears by SMS or email, which sends out a different message, potentially every day, via either email or SMS, depending on what channel your office has chosen. For our premium users, they can also set up invoice arrears. All right, Now, down the page as well, you'll be able to find individual tenants that are in arrears, and it's from here that you can jump in and action those arrears. You have the option through the messaging system here to invoice for rent and invoice arrears, so to message for rent arrears and invoice arrears, and to send messages out to both the tenant and the owner. The reason why you'll want to do that through this screen here is because it's going to create that timeline. So we build out a tenant timeline so that we're able to, at a glance, see where we're up to and see what we've done. If you'd like to know more about our arrears workflow, I strongly recommend jumping into our user manual and having a look at our guides. Now, moving across the top, we also have our inspections. The most important thing to understand about inspections in Reapit PM is how we're displaying this information. What you see in your inspection screen will again be determined by the filters that you have set up. Clicking on the filter button over here from the right-hand side will tell you what you're currently looking at. At the moment, I am simply looking at all open inspections, and that's it. But I can filter down by inspection type, so I'm going to select routine, and I can filter down by who this is assigned to. So if I only want to see the inspections that I'm going to be doing, I could filter down by those that are assigned to me. I can also use date and category to further refine that as need be. Once I've done that, I'm then looking at only the inspections that I'm going to be doing myself. Now, in the list that we see down below, the details column is one of the most important things to pay attention to. That this is telling me that the inspection notice is sent or scheduled is letting me know that that tenant has been informed that I will be going through that property. Now, these two here are overdue. So I would need to jump into these inspections and finalize them through the system. To do that, we click in and we can close the inspection once it's been done and sent out to the owner. You can send the inspection to the owner either through a third-party app or through our own app, and that would be done at the end of the inspection, or you can actually send it through here as well, where you can upload the report and send it down here. Either way, we want to close the inspection at the end of the day so that we are charging our inspection fee if our office charges one. And by doing so, that then creates the next inspection in 6 months' time. Now, below that, you'll also see these inspections in here. These ones are letting me know that they have not yet been scheduled. To schedule these inspections, I need to select them. From the bottom right corner, from these three dots, I can edit those details. So changing who those are assigned to potentially, and picking the day we are going to be conducting this inspection. Hitting save will then reschedule them to that date. And now selecting them again, I can send out my inspection notices. For those of you in Queensland, it's important to note that when you send these inspection notices, an entry notice will be attached automatically. And if we click refresh, you have now scheduled our inspections. This is also important for another reason. There is an automatic reminder that can be turned on for inspections that only sends if an inspection notice has been sent. All right. Let's move on to maintenance. So maintenance, the maintenance workflow within Reapit PM is nice and simple. It's through here that you can add new maintenance in and find existing maintenance. To add new maintenance in, you simply click add new from here or from the property. We put in the property address at the top, record whether or not that is routine, urgent, or emergency maintenance, who it was reported by, who to contact for access, what this maintenance is with regards to, and we can add in any photos that we might have been provided. Clicking create request will pop that into the system. It's from here that you'll be able to request quotes, create work orders, and using the message system in the top right corner, communicate with your owner and with your tenant. I would encourage you to explore this and have a bit of a look at how it works so that you are able to use it well when you need it. Coming back through to residential, the final two we want to have a look at are lease renewals and vacates. The lease renewal workflow, what you need to know about this one is that the lease renewal workflow will automatically put properties in here 120 days before the lease expires. And for those of you that work in Queensland, smoke alarm compliance will also be automatically updated if the smoke alarm compliance is against the property when a new lease starts. It is through here that we'll be able to keep track of our communication with our owners and with our tenants. A timeline is built out against every one of these lease renewal workflows, tracking the initial emails that have been sent out to the owners, to the tenants, any forms that might have been generated, and what new lease has been proposed. It's through here that you're able to put in when the new lease starts, when it's going to end, is the rent being updated, when does new rent start, and if we want to apply that rent increase immediately. By hitting save, that then puts those details in so that when we finalize the lease, the workflow will take care of all of that and any fees that need to be charged. Finally, we have the vacate workflow. And the vacate workflow is where you're going to find any of your properties where you've got tenants that are vacating. A property will end up in this workflow the moment that a vacate date is put in against the tenant. Albeit, if you remove that manually from the tenancy, they can end up in here as unknown. With that said though, what we're going to be using this to do is keep track of things such as exit inspections, which may or may not have been booked. In this case, this one has been missed. We'll be able to keep track of any tenancies where there is a tenant deposit or overpaid rent that needs to be handled. And anything where there might be an outstanding issue that is preventing it from being closed, such as a bond dispute or a VCAT hearing or any number of different things. Okay, and with that, we're nearly at the end. I want to thank you all for watching today, and I want to do one last call out to our Help and Support Centre. Click on the question mark in the top right-hand corner, and it's from here that you're going to find our courses, webinars, knowledge base, and you'll be able to start a chat with us. I also want to call out that this is part of a series. We are doing a new user webinar, pre-recorded webinar on Reapit lettings and Reapit sales as well, where you'll be able to jump in and you'll be able to check those out and get some introductory knowledge on how to use those two platforms. So either if yourself needs to know about it, or if you've got someone else in the office that it will be bringing on Reapit sales or Reapit lettings, please direct them through to those videos. With that, thank you all very, very much for your time. I hope that you have found this to be an informative and helpful guide, and we would love to see you on one of our live webinars one day. Thank you.